I can't wait to talk to the next guest. Heloise Hoffmann has been on the show many times. Of course, we um, enjoy her personality, her energy. She's a musician, so many talents beyond that. Uh, Big time FSHD leader, and we welcome her now. Hello, Heloise. How are you?
Hi, Tim. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's good to see you again. It's good to talk with you again. I did enjoy the walk and roll event when we had a live look in and you were performing some music then. That was awesome. You're so multi-talented.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a great event this past September. It was really empowering.
Yes. Oh man. You know, how much did you end up raising completely for or total from the walk and roll? Do you know?
I'm still, awestruck by this number. We raised almost $150,000 this year.
Oh my.
Um, yeah, it was crazy. So, in total, we raised almost $75,000, but then we had actually a local, philanthropist who was very touched by the cause and actually, um, matched the amount that we raised, which was, so touching because, this was someone that I'd never met. And this really showed that people were wanting to get involved and make a difference, even if they didn't even know me personally.
Do you find that that's happening more and more, that your impact, or your story, how you're moving people to get more involved when you didn't even never met them, never even maybe had direct contact with them prior, but it's something about you and your personality and your story that kind of brings them out to help?
Yeah, absolutely. I've found over the years, as I've become more and more involved with the FSHD Society and open about my journey, I found that support is really pouring in from, all these different places that I would have never expected. When I first launched the Walk and Roll campaign last year, the virtual campaign, that was my first fundraiser, so I really didn't know what to expect, how people would react, who would even want to be involved in making a difference. I thought that I would only be, touching the generosity of my family and close friends. But I found that that really wasn't the case. My friends were sharing my posts and emails to their friends and their friends to their friends. And so, everything kind of just blew up across networks. And I found that this year that happened even more. There was a lot of publicizing of the event around the community. And so since we had an in-person event this year, last September, we had a huge crowd show up of people that I'd never even met. Of course, there were other patients there and families of other patients, but people who had never had contact with an FSHD patient, myself or another patient in the chapter, were coming to the event just to, support the cause, touched by our stories.
Yeah, those that don't know, I mean, it took a little while, right, for you to come to grips with this FSHD diagnosis. You mind elaborating a little bit about that and about how you've kind of transformed into where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is like, I'm sure a lot of patients have experienced this, that when you first get your diagnosis, it's obviously very difficult to digest that this is something that, you're living with, and that's happening to you. So when I first was diagnosed at age 13, I was a mutation in my family, so no one in my family had it, and I'd never even heard of this disorder. So it really came as a shock, and I thought that, my life was being shattered right in front of my eyes. I had to drop my big passions of tennis and horseback riding because I just wasn't able to do those sports anymore. And I really saw my life crumbling in front of my eyes when I heard that diagnosis. And it took a couple years, around 2 years, for me to really accept it and digest it. And during that time, I didn't even share with my closest friends. Only my family and doctors knew. And when I moved to Florida, I started opening up a little bit more because, it was kind of just a new place, somewhere that I could maybe like build a new identity for myself. And I kind of turned those pieces from my life that had shattered in front of my eyes into, um, you know, something more empowering. And I realized that although I have FSHD, it doesn't have me. And today of course, living with FSHD is difficult. Of course, it's devastating. Your muscles are deteriorating in front of your eyes. And until we get a cure, there's not that much that we can do about that fact. But, mentally, there is so much that we can do by standing up and empowering those around us to get involved. So that's really kind of where I'm at right now. I realize that my physical body is, deteriorating due to this disorder, but FSHD can take my muscles, but it can't take away my love for life or my positivity or, my activism.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very mature outlook for someone your age. I know sometimes it takes even adults that have had this for a while to kind of wrap their heads around the fact that this is what's happening, this like reality of what their life is. This is their something that they have to deal with. And I think it's remarkable that you were able to find your path and then use that as fuel to keep moving forward and then bring others with you, which leads me kind of to this next direction of question is, how important is it to you and even to the community, in your opinion, to get more younger patients involved in the FSHD Society?
Oh, it's so important. I mean, it's one of the most important things that we can do because, it's commonly known for plenty of causes that, the youth, the power of the youth is very important in making change happen. Especially because, younger patients like me, we kind of are just in the process of finding out who we are, and then to be hit with a diagnosis like this at a young age can be devastating. So finding all those younger patients and getting and showing them that there's a community of patients like them, and an opportunity to get involved is so important, not only to make a difference in the pathway to a cure, but also to help those people just accept their diagnoses, which is the mission of our movement, GenZ of FSHD. That started up kind of over the summer, and we've grown a lot over this year. And I'm really excited to see where we go next, because it's so important to get the youth community activated, because I see that for myself personally, my activism is really what made the difference in taking control of my diagnosis and making myself control FSHD rather than the other way around. So I think the more youth we can get to do that, the more impact we'll have.
Yeah, it's amazing the group that's been started. Yeah, the Gen Z. Tell us a little bit about the formation of that group and who's all involved.
So in the early summer, late spring of last year, a group of us kind of got involved. The key players here are kind of Lexi Pappas, who's heading up the New England chapter, Jacob Dunn, and Alina Jones, who's in England. And we're all in the Gen Z age range, and we're all pretty involved with the FSHD Society. And we kind of just came together and decided that we wanted to launch this group for young people with FSHD. And so it started out as an Instagram account, where we post resources, tips and tricks, just encouragement for people to get involved. And that group actually grew really, really quickly. And we saw more and more people following us and interacting with the posts. We got so many positive messages saying that people have been waiting for a group like this for years. So it was really great to see the impact that we were having. And so we started thinking of having meetings where we could all come together and discuss and meet other young patients. So we had our first meeting in October, and we're planning our next meeting for December. Check the FSHD Society calendar for that. It's going to be a great meeting. We have two of our members who are going to be presenting about FSHD 101. So we're kind of, also involving educational aspects. And, this group, I see like the empowerment that others are getting from this group. So it's really great to see like that we're having an impact. And, as young people, it can be hard to meet other young patients with FSHD because since it's progressive, there tend to be more, more older people with FSHD rather than teenagers and Gen Z patients. So it's really great to meet people who are, at the same stage of life as you, and, kind of in having similar experiences.
What was that like then, that you said you guys met in October for your first meeting? Was it virtual? Was it face to face?
It was virtual because, we really wanted to be able to include as many people as we could. And we had a great turnout. We even had 2 international patients, one person from India and one person from Spain. So it was really great to see people from all over the world. And that first meeting was all about kind of getting to know each other, sharing exercise tips and tricks, activities that we all like to do, just getting to know each other and sharing fun facts. So it was, this was kind of as I've become more and more involved, I've of course met more and more people with FSHD, but this was kind of the first time that I was interacting with this many people with like of my age group with FSHD. So it was really nice to discuss with people who are in the same stage of life as me and having some of the same experiences.
Where do you see the group going as you guys keep pushing forward? I know I'm sure there's more meetings on the horizon, but is there any, goals you guys have set out in the future where you want the group to go?
Yeah, I have a lot of, high expectations for this group. We're definitely keeping on growing on the Instagram and social media platform. And so more and more people are getting engaged and involved. I think in the future, we're hoping to, start up kind of having monthly meetings, themed meetings, like educational meetings and tips and tricks meetings. So as I mentioned, our meeting coming up in December, we'll have 2 of our members, Justin Cohen and Russell Caradenudo. They're 2 very bright patients who are involved in research. And so they'll be presenting kind of on the basic mechanisms and genetics behind FSHD. So I know that's something of great interest to a lot of people. And then in the future, we're planning on having meetings, with other guest speakers, and we want to get as many kind of youth guest speakers involved as possible to really reinforce our mission. And we're continuing to stay involved on the social media aspect by continuing to post resources and tips and kind of events that are happening in the FSHD Society. And really our main goal for this group is to get as many young patients involved as possible, specifically in activism and fundraising, because, obviously starting a chapter is a big step and a big responsibility, but there are so many other ways to be involved, like just holding a small fundraiser at your school or in your community. There are just so many small ways to make a difference. And through this, patients would not only be making a difference, in raising funds or raising awareness in their communities, but also with digesting and accepting and processing their own diagnoses and taking control.
Now, before we let you go, I definitely wanted to cover your involvement in regards to research. I know you have a big interest in that. You kind of mentioned it with some of the speakers you might have within your Gen Z talking about the research side of it, but I know personally you're getting more involved in it.
Yeah, obviously compared to some of the other guests today, I'm kind of just dipping my toes in research, but that's definitely a huge interest of mine because to me, we're gonna get a cure through activism, fundraising, and research. So I want to be involved in all 3 of those. So last year, I conducted a large study of sleep characteristics in FSHD patients. if you're watching this, you may have actually participated in the study through the online survey. And through this, I actually obtained the largest sample of FSHD patients in a sleep study to date, which
Wow.
had some really important insights about sleep quality and daytime sleepiness in FSHD. So I'm working on getting that research published right now. And I worked with Dr. Statland on that. And then over the summer, I also interned with a lab to characterize the DUX4 sequences on a nucleotide level. So, I really want to be involved in research and do my part to advance the understanding and knowledge of FSHD so that we can improve treatment paths and get to a cure more quickly.
Yeah, you're getting a little more than just dipping your toe there, though. I mean, you're doing, you know, you're doing studies here. I mean, that's very interesting to me with the sleep study and all that. That's awesome. So, is this something that you're looking as a career path as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm definitely planning on continuing to be involved with FSHD in my career. My drive is to become a pediatric neurologist, actually, because when I was going through my diagnosis process, my own pediatric neurologist told me that my pain was due to my teenage imagination, and that was something that was really hard to hear when I could feel that there was obviously something going on in my body. So I want to ensure that no other child has to hear that from their doctor. And then I definitely want to continue research as well while I'm in college and as a career path.
That's awesome. That's great to hear because you took kind of a really bad story. I mean, that's terrible to be told that. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to show you. I'm going to go do this better than you do. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Heloise, for joining us today on Giving Tuesday, spending some time with us. I know the future is bright for you, even beyond FSHD. I can once the cure happens, I can only imagine what the road looks like for you. You have so many possibilities. So thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for being part of our community. It's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Tim. Great to see you.
You too. You too. Oh man, Heloise is inspirational. Man, jeez, I am lazy. I don't do anything to that person. Holy cow. Okay. Woo. All right.